Good evening, everybody. Welcome to League of Extraordinary Inventors. I'm your host, Mike from Faraday Research. It is Friday night. It is May 31st, 2024. Welcome to the show. Tonight I got on the panel, I have Lulu from Texas. She's joining us, one of our regulars that comes on the show. I think Philip is busy tonight, so I know he's been really busy with the investors and getting a lot of stuff on his end rolling. So he's been extremely busy. So I imagine Mike does probably going to show up at some point too. But we'll just start together, just me and you, and we'll get things off and running. So how's your week been, Lulu?
Very good. Had a very good Memorial Day. Uh, Hope your week was good as well.
Yeah, it was better than the week before. I smashed my finger in the door of my car. The wind caught it. I was putting some food in the back seat and I was going to push the door, but the wind caught it and I didn't pull my hand out in time and it caught my middle finger. So you can see my middle fingernail is completely dead and my finger bubbled out to probably twice the size it was, right up to the first knuckle. And I was like in quite a bit of pain for a good 3 days, 3, 4 days. So a week ago Friday, I was not a happy
Did you
person. Sorry.
get it X-rayed?
No, I didn't get it x-rayed. I figure, you know what? I hit it on the tip. If it was broken, it's not like they can put a cast on it anyways. You know what I mean? So I
Still,
just put the ice. I put the ice on it, and I took quite a few Tylenol to deal with some of the pain because it bubbled up pretty good. So yeah, not a good way to end my week there. So I decided, I'm just gonna take the night off, and hopefully the next week, I'll be back to my normal quirky self. And so, but I made good with the time. I've been working on the battery technology like nonstop. I've also done a lot of work on the Gerard Morin device. I got the box built. I just got to paint it now, finish up all the wiring inside, and that device will be completed, which I will be featuring in a video probably later this week on the Faraday Research YouTube channel. Just a reminder, everybody, the live chat is open. So if you have any questions, comments for the panel, you could do so in the comments, and I'll even post it on the show on the board as well, so everybody can see the comments that are coming in. So yeah, so going back to the battery stuff, I feel like I'm becoming a chemist. Like I've been doing so much research and you know um, reactive metals, nanoparticles, quantum tunneling, all this stuff. I've been researching it immensely, and also I do have a mentor that he's been doing this kind of stuff for well over 40 years.
wow.
He's old school. He's tough as a nail, and he kicks my ass if I'm in the wrong, and he'll correct me. So,
Probably an encyclopedia of of
he's met all the guys. He's met Dan Winters. He's met John Bedini. He's met Peter Linderman. He's met all these guys. Like
but
all these guys that he's met in the past.
to have him.
So
Very lucky.
yeah, and a lot of those people are not around anymore, right? But you know, um, it's good to have somebody like that, to kind of guide you a little bit in certain things. And yeah, so yeah, I've been just doing a lot of reading and trying to figure out how to put the chemistry of the battery together to make it last. So,
I heard like zinc and aluminum could cause a reaction which generates power. Like
well, it does, but you know, you have to worry about corrosion,
yes,
right? So the type of cell that I've been working on is a dry cell. So there will be a galvanic action going on, but the makeup of uh, what I'm doing is more of a dry cell, but there will be a galvanic action going on. Even some of the guys that have been working on this stuff for years. There's one guy from a YouTube channel called Quantum Magnetics. He was making these power cells. They're about 12 by 12 sheets, and they're graphite. And he found out a certain chemical reaction when he put certain elements together would give him a lot of power. And there is no corrosion or, you know, of the sort, right?
So it's
So
uh,
unfortunately, yeah, I think it goes to like quantum tunneling effect as well as maybe possibly Casimir effect that's happening. Um, Now, unfortunately, this guy actually passed away in 2021, right around the COVID time. So I'm not sure if he died from COVID. He was in Florida. A lot of people might actually know his YouTube channel, Quantum Magnetics. Now, his store has actually been removed off the internet. So if you want to buy his stuff, you can't buy it anymore because he's not making it anymore. He's gone. And that's kind of a big blow. And he never really revealed, uh, his secret sauce and his power cell, but they were a silicate graphite composite that he was working on. So he had a lot of success with it. The cells, the one cell he had running for over 4 years.
he was selling batteries, right? Like
Yeah, well, they're cells, they're power cells. So it's kind of like a capacitor battery, I guess you could say.
mm,
But they're very thin. They're only about that thin each cell, but they're 12 by 12 sheets of graphite, right?
oh,
So kind of a unique kind of power source, but the fact that they last a long, long time, 4 years he had one cell running.
wow.
So he gave out a lot of tidbits. So I've been kind of piecing together all the little tidbits and trying to connect the dots of what he was actually doing, how he was doing it, how he was using the cell, how he was extracting the power from the cell properly without destroying it. Because you can wreck them if you just draw power off it continuously. That
Mhm.
will actually wreck the cell. So he came up with a method of a timing cycle. So he would pull power off for 2 seconds, then it would go off for 7 seconds, and then go back on for 2 seconds.
Mhm.
So that was the timing cycle he used for extracting power off the cells. So the more cells you got, the more voltage you have, as well as more current. So
And
he was taking. Go ahead.
generate. They self generated, with
Yeah,
the
they regenerate its own power. Yeah, they charge themselves back up. They re-gauge. So that has to do with that metal combination, the chemistry that he came up with. So he kind of guarded it. It was patent pending, and then he died. So,
what
yeah,
happened. Like, like what if he gets the approval for the patent? Then what happens? Even if the patent office approves it, what would happen?
I guess the next of kin or anybody that was involved with him. Now, as far as I know, he was a one man show, and I'm not sure. See, the the thing is, he's gone. A lot of that information's been taken off the internet. The only thing left of his footprint is his YouTube channel. So it hasn't been removed. He's got a ton of views on it. He's made some nice machines, even pulse motors and batteries, power boxes, capacitor bank boxes. He was working on a wafer that was about the size of a cigarette pack, really, really thin, and it was putting out over 6 volts. So yeah, we're talking nanotech, right? So he came up with a silicate carbide graphite type cell that just kept putting power out. So pretty unique stuff. So I've been trying to piece together what tidbits he was talking about and try to figure out what he was doing.
Would it
So
be call the patent office and say, hey, this person has passed away? They put a patent, you know, since there's nobody calling for it, could we have a look at it?
yeah, I don't even know where his stuff is gone because I didn't even know he passed away until about a week ago,
Okay.
and he's been gone since 2021. So who knows what's happened with this stuff? The family could have sold it off or just put it in a scrap heap. Who knows, right?
Com- Companies will like scoop that stuff up and
Yeah, hide it. Yeah, because like that cell technology he was working on basically replaced solar. So
Nice not to have an electric bill. It'd really be nice.
Well, don't forget, look how big the solar industry is. He could be a threat to that. So maybe the solar companies found out who he was after he died, went after the family and said, we would really love to see his technology, and then scoop it up, and then nobody will see the night of day again, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
I know how to make a solar panel. I know how to extract energy out of one, but just parts. But I know how to do it. It's not that difficult. All you need is a surface that attracts charge on surface, and then But I know how to make it. I,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
See, his cell, apparently, the composition, what he was using, if he exposed it to thermal heat, the temperature would rise on the cell, but also the voltage start rising. So there was some thermal embiotic type reaction going on when exposed to heat, actually start pumping out more power. So that's one clue. The other clue is that he was using carbon silicate, where in his earlier models of the cell, he was just using carbon graphite plates. So now, the last cell he made before he passed, one plate was carbon silicate, and the other one was carbon graphite. So he had two dissimilar materials, and then he had the mixture, whatever it was, on the inside, and it was able to give the power output.
yeah,
So
chemical reaction.
yeah, the chemical reaction. So I do believe, and he even admitted too, there is a galvanic action happening, right? So
Yes,
just everybody that's tuning in, the live chat's open. Any questions, comments? Um, yeah, my friend in Morocco, he just said, which is why open source material is a failsafe of innovation. So yeah, that's true, definitely true. Um, so he's one of my supporters. He's a wealth of information too. He's out in Morocco, and he was where actually his name's Tivon. He's part of the FTW project. He makes all the uh, 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 radio wave inhibitors. He uses the orgone protectors for RF frequencies. He uses a whole bunch of different materials, shugnite and stuff like that. And he makes some really nice brooches. And he makes this little, it looks like a hockey puck thing, and you put that beside your bed, and it protects you from all the RF while you're sleeping. So it's like an RF barrier. It absorbs all that parasitic um, stuff. So yeah, he's originally was in the States, and then eventually decided to move to Morocco with his wife, and they're running the business out of Morocco right now. Actually, I was on the phone with him today discussing this battery technology. So yeah, I figure I'll give my friend there a little plug on his company. And T-Von, can you put your website address in the chat there, and then I'll share it with everybody on the screen there, so they can check out your website and what you make and your products. And he sent me a whole bunch of samples, which is great. He has this little rectangular thing. It's a really nice design, nice colors and design on it. You stick it on the back of your phone, and it protects you from the parasitic frequencies that you can get. Tivon, can you put your website address on the live chat? And that way everybody knows who you are, and if you're interested in Tivon's products.
I like the
Yeah,
barrier. Like from RF, like
yeah.
things.
I also have. He has this other one's made like a pyramid, black pyramid. Actually, I can bring it out and show you guys. He gave me some samples to show and test out. And yeah, I've got it. Actually, I got that pyramid sitting right beside my bed there. So give me some protection at nighttime. And it does help. Your mind can, clear out, go into a good deep sleep and get good quality sleep. Plus, I got that little hockey puck thing. You could actually put that under your pillow, right? It's closer to your head, the better, actually. So yeah, he's got some interesting products there. Everybody should check it out. And
Definitely.
yeah,
I see Mike in the chat.
Yeah, he hasn't jumped on.
I think
Oh,
he's
he's in the car. He's in the car right now. He said he'll be back in 15 minutes. Um, okay, he's just sent me the.
well.
Okay, all right. I'll put in the live chat. What have you been up to this week?
I had one of my kids' birthday parties. That's a big deal. We've got 4 kids. It's
Yeah,
uh,
busy, busy.
working on my modules. I've got a few weeks to finish them. Got a new job. First day is Tuesday.
Yep.
What else? Just we're kind of relaxing. The kids' schools are out, so that's a kind of a relief. I don't have to really wake up anymore at 6 o'clock in the morning. It could be like
Mhm.
just because I don't have any to drop off or pick up.
Yeah, my new job, I'll be working afternoons, so I'll be working 3 in the afternoon to 1:30 in the morning.
Oh wow,
But it's kind of good, I got a 4-day work week, which is kind of nice.
nice.
So, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
my job is like in insurance sales. I am a licensed agent in the state of Texas, so I don't really have a specific time. I think it's just more of client. How.
yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah.
do. We do totally different jobs, right? I'm a machinist, and you're in the
Well,
insurance, and
yeah, but that's it. Like there's things that are called jobs, and then there's things that are called interests and hobbies, and
right.
that that's not just to make money. Things that a person wants to explore further for you know scientific reasons, for
Yeah.
other. Yeah. So
Well, it's amazing that there is a lot of health stuff that kind of ties in, even with the energy stuff, because they're all kind of interrelated. Energies and waveforms and all that stuff that affect the human body just as much as a machine,
yes,
right?
I started following APEC and your channel, similar channels. I started understanding like the MRIs and the X-rays and the
Hmm.
ultrasounds and like the nerve conduction machines, like all the stuff that because prior to this I was in the healthcare field and I did the medical business management, so
Yeah.
I very involved in new machines for physicians and what is approved by the state and what has a CPT code for billing. What could
Mhm.
a device that could help people, and it has a billing code that insurance companies pay. But I started understanding the technology behind these devices, and like for example, like MRI machines or CAT scans.
Yep. Yeah. They're high tech, man. They're huge magnets, right? They're huge,
Yeah.
massive magnets, and they work with radioactivity. If you have to get an MRI, they inject a radioactive dye into your bloodstream, and then they can take a proper image of that part of your body that they're.
Like they could inject barium and they could view it under
Yeah.
uh yeah, diagnostic tools. Yes, you're
Yep.
right.
Yep. Exactly. And those magnets in the machines are huge, huge, and very, very powerful.
And I wish we can like find a broken one, like a broken machine that nobody wants, extract that magnet out of it and
Oh,
try.
good. You know how much those machines are worth?
Well,
I think they're like, something like $4.5 million for those
okay,
MRI machines.
but the ones that like that have, for example, the MRI machine that does the 32 slice, it's there's no more billable code for it. So any doctor or hospital that has this machine, it is garbage. It's all, they cannot make money off of it anymore. So
Yeah. Well, they probably recycle some of the parts
yeah,
because they're extremely expensive. Everything is custom made. Um, yeah, it's a specialized machine. These diagnostic machines are state of the art, right? And they're very, very expensive. Like here in Canada, we have OHIP, so I pay taxes, and that pays for those machines to get installed into the hospitals around your locale. So if you need an MRI, you can actually go to the hospital and schedule get an MRI, which I have done on my wrist before. I had some problems with my wrist there at one point. So yeah, it's it's just technology, especially in the medical industry, is going to make some real huge leaps and bounds in the next 20 years, and they're already discovering new incredible things every day. Right?
The
It's
problem
just a snow.
not being safe about it. Some government facilities are not safe with the technology that they're being given. I'll give you an example. Uh, Here in Houston, I had a friend of mine who was stopped and was telling me about the procedure of what they did to him. They stuck him in a room with 10 people, and then they did an X-ray image on him while there was 10 people in the same room. Did you understand? Like
Yeah,
like you can't be doing that because you're exposing everybody to very like
you're
dangerous.
getting exposed to X-rays. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
See, and
understand.
the other thing too is here's the thing: the X-ray technology we use today is dangerous. That's why they put the lead shielding around your neck so it doesn't destroy your thyroid gland. Nikola Tesla back in the day, he came up with a safe X-ray that doesn't hurt you.
Okay.
Do we see it in operation today? No. Where is it? Why don't we have this? Right? He
Because
came up with a safe.
it's
He
safe.
because it's safe. Exactly. Like, where's the logic in this? Right?
It doesn't generate money. It does not convert into something that's going to
Well,
make somebody, if it's safe,
yeah,
going to get sick. Let's
and it's cheap, and so they decide to use an apparatus that's probably 50 times the cost, and it's can be harmful to your body if overexposed, and they rather use that, because they rather have you get exposed to, X-rays that are damaging to your tissues in your body. Yeah, sure, let's use it on them, right? It's just one more little stab into the kill shot, right?
and I the world wasn't there's so much more potential for generating money and jobs and businesses in this if the positive angle of viewing things rather than exhausting every possible avenue to generate money, exhaust it the other way around because there is infinite potential. It's not, and it just makes a better way of thinking, not just it's like using oil or for energy or using solar for energy. One is the dirty form of
Yeah.
energy, the clean.
So the way I see it, okay, stop using oil or petroleum products to make energy. Save that oil to make the plastics you need to make, TVs and
Yeah.
VCRs and phones and all the other consumer products. We definitely have a use for oil for that, but we don't need the use of fossil fuels or oil for fuel. Fossil fuel has been basically obsolete since 1952, and I posted actually on my YouTube channel. It's a two-part series of energy from the vacuum, and it talks about what was going on in Toronto around 1950. And they worked on this device called the cold heat engine.
Hmm.
By 1954, fossil fuel, gas, all that stuff was basically obsolete. Now, at the same time, the company that designed it was three engineers. They worked for a company called DesignX. Now, their liaison was Avro Aero. Remember the Avro Aero that Canada made?
Okay.
Well, that was kind of a subsidiary company that worked in Toronto in an office building. Actually, I know where it is. Um, it's still there today. It was called Design X, and all the ex military guys, Project Paperclip,
Yeah.
all the German engineers.
Yeah.
Well, there was quite a few of them in Toronto designing stuff for Avro, Project Silverbug, which was the Avro car, and they were also working on designs that were actually 60 feet in diameter. The Avro car was kind of a front to kind of just say, okay, yeah, we're testing the concept. That's about as far as we're going. Meanwhile, T. Townsend Brown was the head director of that project because he was using his technology to make that flying saucer fly.
Yeah.
So a lot of these engineers were based in Toronto working on missile systems, nuclear systems, free energy systems, the Avro car, Project Silverbug, and the list goes on and on. It was a major, major operation going on in Toronto in 1950. So the guy that's being interviewed, his name's William Doyle. I'm not sure if he's still alive. When they did the video in 2013, he was 70 years old. So it's 2024 now. He'd be in his 80s.
Oh,
So I'm not sure if he's still alive. I know where he lives approximately. I know the actual part of the city where he's from. It's only about maybe about 40, 35, 40-minute drive from my place where he lives. Um, but
and he
his father,
involved
his
in
father,
these?
sorry,
Like he was involved in this since the 1950s.
his father was the financier. He was the guy with
Could
the
have been
money funding the projects.
like in his teens. Yeah, I was thinking, it could,
He was at that time, he was 16, 17, 18, and 19
yes.
years old when that project was going on before they actually dissolved DesignX. They dissolved the company. That was because of Roosevelt told Diefenbaker was our prime minister at that time, that you have to liquidate this company and get rid of it. So even though after that DesignX was dissolved and shut down, the three main engineers that designed the cold heat engine, they wanted to carry on. They wanted to keep working on this tech. Now, at that time, when the Avro Arrow was going on, the Project Silverbug was going on, and also the Avro car was being built, and also the cold heat engine, Shell Gas was living there. They were watching everything that they were working on. They were
Mhm.
in there like vultures, watching the technology grow. And then when they seen the cold heat engine, that really put a wrench in them. They were scared to death because they knew, as in 1955, gas, oil, all that stuff was obsolete.
They were probably one of the people that lobbied, here
Yeah,
in the
to
States.
shut it down, yes. Yep. And all the key engineers, believe it or not, were all from Britain. All the guys that were designing half this stuff, all the head engineers were all British, all of them, except for Townsend Brown and a few others. But the majority, they were all British.
Well, at least they're not German, British, like
See, William Doyle, when he was doing his interview, he said they weren't the best engineers, but they were the best researchers. So apparently, back in the Second World War, they were researching technology from way long back in history. They were researching like Vimanas and
okay, so really,
how their engines worked. They were looking for relics like the Ark of the Covenant, stuff like that. They were really good at that. Engineers, okay, they were good. Von Braun and all those guys made the V2 rockets and all that. But the real interesting technology was basically the cold heat engine. Now,
did
from what I've, sorry,
had,
go ahead.
you think Germans had good technology that we weren't able to? And
Well, apparently they had a battery that they
okay,
designed. It had mercury in it, and it was sitting there and it had no power. But it did have a little lever on the side. You crank the lever, the battery came back to life
hmm.
just by spinning this little lever on the side of the battery. It had some kind of mercury type base inside. And as soon as you disturb that mercury, boom, the battery came back to life. And
Wow,
it could be sitting for years with
wasn't
no power.
wasn't Phil experimenting with something with mercury? He was making something with mercury.
Who who's
Uh,
that?
Phil Bouchard.
Oh yeah, yeah. For its accelerators, yeah. Mercury is used in a lot of stuff. The only reason why I don't really dabble with it is not a very safe element to work with. The gases can be quite dangerous if you're using certain types of mercury. So that's why I kind of stayed away. You have to be in a proper lab
I'll
when
tell you,
you're
I was
yeah,
I was I went to visit my grandparents in a third world country, and there is there's no regulations. Like a kid could go into the convenience store and buy whatever they want. So I went to the convenience store. I bought everything that they had, and all the thermometers were made out of mercury. Came home,
yeah.
I put those thermometers and I boiled them, and you know broke the thermometers broke. Gathered
All
the
right.
mercury, like about that much mercury. I bought it. We're talking, it was like value wise, I spent like $5, $6 in US dollars, but I got maybe 50 thermometers filled with mercury.
Yeah,
Extracted them, put it
that's
in.
dangerous.
Well, I was a kid, I didn't know. And and I played
Yeah,
with it. Thought it was the coolest thing, and I, touched it with
yeah.
my hand.
That's you can get mercury poisoning from that because it
Nothing
can seep into your skin, right? It can be absorbed by your
I
body. Yeah, that's extremely
want
dangerous.
to do this. But luckily for me, nothing happened. But yes, I have played with mercury,
Yeah.
in the but I do not condone it. If anybody's watching, this is not recommended.
No, no, no. You got to be in a proper lab situation. If you're working with mercury, you have to have proper ventilation. You have to have gloves on, apron, eye protection. Yeah, mercury. You don't mess around with that stuff. They'll kill you. Yeah. There's different grades and different types of mercury. Some are more dangerous than others,
Yeah,
especially with the fumes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
not recommended. Even I don't even play with mercury
the question:
because I
rotation of the mercury generates electricity or generates energy just by uh, I'm trying to think, like, how would that create energy? Maybe
well, it's an interesting element because it's liquid at room temperature, right?
it looks like gallium at room temperature.
Yeah, like gallium is solid if it's cool, and the second you warm it up in your hands, it basically goes to like a mercury state. I do have a tube of gallium. I
Yes.
haven't really. The problem is gallium's not really conductive. You would have to add other agents to it to make it. You would have to add like iron oxide or something like that to it. Now the thing is too, you would have to look up on the table if you can actually do that, if it's actually dangerous or not, because some of them could actually create reactions. Like say like magnesium. If you add a lot of heat to magnesium, poof, it
Yeah,
accelerates explosion.
it could
You know,
spark.
yeah, it's very dangerous. So it's a reactive metal, and they've been experimenting with magnesium in batteries and actually getting some really interesting and encouraging results using it. Problem is, it creates oxidation when it's a reactance, right? It's a reactive metal. When that happens, you get oxidation and you get corrosion on the metal itself. So it kind of has like a half life, right? So
Yes.
if you are using it with, say, water or some kind of galvanic action going, yeah, it's going to work for a while, but it will run out. Eventually, it'll deteriorate, right? So it goes back to its natural state in a powder form. Then you
Vacuums
have to,
or
then
in
you
a
have to, well, then you have to heat it up again. You have to melt it and form the steel again, and then it can be reused. So it's interesting stuff.
very tedious though we want to find an element that does has a longer shelf life, longer, just and not as much as having to change a part, or like you wanted to.
Well, yep, that's part of the research is finding that mystery combination where you don't have to replace anything. It doesn't need electrolyte. That's kind of like the holy grail of it all, right? So as soon as you find the right combination of elements together, will create either a Casimir effect, piezoelectric effect, or even quantum tunneling. You could
Mhm.
have a battery cell pretty much run indefinitely, which is I think probably our best bet as far as free energy is concerned in a solid state battery type of thing. So that's why I kind of really embrace this thing with the battery cell. So I've got some big stuff on the horizon with it. I'm not really going to talk too much about it now, but I do some have some things in the works right now where I'm going to be making way larger scale um, cells for testing. So I'm going to try to mimic basically the guy from quantum magnetics. Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. I think I have a pretty good sauce right now. I'm going to try a couple of different combinations to see capacitance value, voltage output, current output. So it's a lot of testing. Like it's like I said this last week. I feel like I became a chemist on in 1 week.
You know,
Learning about
market overseas in like war zone areas where they don't have electricity and
this thing would be perfect because you don't need sunlight now. The guy from quantum magnetics, his cells, if they were heating up a little bit, they actually put out a little bit more power. So that shows some kind of a galvanic action. He actually admitted there is a galvanic action going on inside.
okay.
So yeah, uh, interesting stuff. Like it's totally fascinating me. So that's why I've kind of embraced it as much as I have, right?
I
But I
mean,
think
invent it and I'll help you find a market. I know of a market that no
I
not
just feel, you know
regulate.
what, I found it kind of ironic. The guy from quantum magnetics passed away while his stuff was patent pending, so he never got to see his dream basically get patented. You know, so it's kind of a shame. Um, he wasn't an old guy; he was only 67
You know
years
what?
old,
Then
right?
then then but transfer it to one of your kids' names. That way bypasses you, and it's like your kids are too young; they're not the real inventors. But that way you get to skip that if you're scared of that.
Well, that's the thing. I've been looking around to see if next of kin have taken, grabbed the ball and ran. It doesn't look like that's happened.
Mm.
So unfortunately, it looks like another one got lost. So if I could come anywhere close to that and try to resurrect what he was doing, that'd be amazing.
I
So
speak to the universe and say, I'll give 51% everything I make back, and I'll keep 49. It will work.
exactly. Live chat's open, everybody. If you have any questions for Lulu and myself, please do in the live chat. We do our shows every Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, and maybe even Gerald might even pop on later. I sent him an invite. I might actually send one again, see if he's around. Yeah, so yeah, I've just been working on that stuff. The Gerard Morin device, I got that put together. Now I got to strip it down, paint it, put it back together, wire everything up, and do my first test runs with it. I know it works. I had a rig before, and it worked just fine. But it gives me a good testing bed for that device, so I can swap out transformers, try different combinations. Add this, add that, whatever. And try to improve the device when I have free time. So yeah, it's a good little project. So I'm going to continue with that one as well. Keep
They
myself busy.
Have you heard of the new computer chip that they built? It's $1 billion chip.
I heard something. I don't really know too much about it.
It's like this huge. It's like this big, like as big as almost half as a cell phone. And this is going to be the
Huh.
new technology for Microsoft, for Google, for like a lot of these big companies. This is what they're going to to store data. So
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you're getting into the nanotech. You're getting into the quantum computers. Now you got all this AI and all that stuff. So it's just going to accelerate. Everything's accelerating. You know,
I
this
just
technology, right?
don't become so dependent to the point, IQs like go down, because we no more thinking or being creative. We're leaving it all to AI to do the work, you know?
It
So,
should always be. It should be used as a tool, not dependent on.
okay, so for example, I'll give you the other day, one of my kids, like, she was like, oh, the new chat. AI. I said, yeah, sure. She's like, what kind of poem do you want me to, ask it to write? And I asked like a poem about the galaxy. And within seconds, it wrote a poem, one of the most beautiful poems I've ever heard. And it's an
Right.
AI this. So I was like, this is kind of cool, but it it takes out the creativity of writing an essay or
Yeah, that's right. You're letting the machine do the creativity. Yeah. See, like I said, it should be used as a tool. There always should be a human component in that equation to kind of guide the tool, you know.
yeah, so
And
I'm telling you, our
but I see what you're getting at. I totally understand it. I get it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think eventually down the road, yeah, it's going to take creativity away from the person. You know,
yeah.
you'll have to. I think people, society will actually have to go back to basics. Pick up a pen and start drawing some. Don't rely on a computer to design an image for you. That's why painting. I like paintings and I always have to like paintings. Just because it's a human touch. It's a human actually creating right an image that he sees in his mind, right? Like my mother's been a painter since she was 9, and she's like almost 80, right? So she does watercolors, she can do sketch drawing, she can do all that stuff. So that's a good thing, and it rubbed off on my daughter. My daughter's heavily into drawing, and she's always sketching and making characters and anime characters and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really rubbed off, and I hope it stays with her. So yeah, but I understand. Yeah, the AI stuff can not necessarily be the best thing, right?
I mean, it's cost effective.
Um,
Sense like you're not having to buy so much paint and paintbrushes. It's all, but there's an element that gets lost in all of that.
right.
I don't know. I hope people use it wisely and the right way where we don't lose the good things of
The
now.
way it should be the way it should be treated is like your favorite wrench in the toolbox, right?
Yeah.
If you need to do something specific, you can rely on that wrench to do the job that you need, and not to do all the jobs. You have to do some of the work yourself. Put some thought behind it. It's just like that tool. Use it as a tool. As long as we keep that mentality, keep it as a tool, then something that we're reliant on. Like these days, we're reliant on the cell phone. But, everybody lives their life off the cell phone, and I think that's dangerous.
Oh, I was meaning to ask you. You have a 3D printer, right?
Yeah,
You could like pretty much 3D print anything.
pretty much. Yeah,
Okay. Because I was thinking the other day, I'm like, you know, thing like some of like objects like such as the little thing on a remote's back, that little like
yeah,
well, yeah, a lot of the remotes that part is missing. I'm like, I wonder if that could be 3D printed.
yep. As long as you get the proper design, it can print exactly what you need.
Okay. So what have you used it for in your experiments?
Well, I built things to hold the motors, motor mounts, bearing holders, actual wheels. Like you can make anything, and whatever comes up in your head. I put it in Fusion 360, put it into a 3D model, render it, and send it off to the printer and actually print it. Actually, what comes up in my mind, I can make it a reality with the printer, and to me, that's really cool.
And
You
what
know,
is the
some
material that you use? Is it metal or plastic?
It's a plastic. It's PLA. It's called polylactic acid. That's a cornstarch byproduct. It's biodegradable, pretty durable. There's that. There's ABS, uh, PET. There's a whole whack of materials now. Hey, Mikey. There's a whole range of huge amount of carbon materials, iron, copper, whole like back in the day when I first started with it, there was very few materials, um, but there was very few materials um, available, but now there's huge lists. There's rubber materials, there's synthetics. There's companies out there 3D printing homes using actually an extruder to actually extrude concrete in a controlled manner, and they could actually build a house right from the ground up,
Yeah, I've seen.
minus the roof. So building a whole house in one day, and then all they got to put on is the roof, and there you go, you got a house. So
My God, how much people would save in money and in time.
well, what's good about that is you can use a 3D printer, like say for making houses. You can take it to remote locations where it'd be very hard to get, material into those locations, right? So with a 3D printer, all you need is concrete, and sometimes the materials are around the site.
And
Clay and all that stuff. You can actually make a slurry out of the materials that are available in your area, right?
yes, and concrete is much safer than wood. Doesn't catch on fire. It's the house stays cooler because it's like an insulator on its own. There's yeah, and it's at the end of the day, we're not really destroying anything to get that material. It's from the ground. We're not
Mm,
like trees off, or we're not polluting the oceans to extract a material. It's a natural material at the end of the day.
yep, yep. And
Yeah.
yeah, most of the materials for concrete, all of it comes from the ground. You know, so yeah, it's about as natural material from the earth as you can make make your homes with. So
There's
yeah,
no
you
If,
homes
if
nowadays, like, they use a lot of wood. Imagine how many acres of trees have to be cut for those homes to be built, and then the oxygen that we lose, and plus those trees like keep clean the air,
yep,
like, and
yep,
so concrete is a wonderful alternative.
I think all you need is clay, sodium hydroxide, and sand.
yep. And there you go. You got a house.
The sodium
Yeah,
hydroxide will heat up the wet nicks and make it hard and solid.
yeah, exactly. You guys just chat for a minute. I'm gonna scoot up for a quick smoke, and then I'll be right back.
Hi,
They
Mike.
put lye in the concrete. It's like sodium hydroxide. Hey, hi Noel.
How are you doing? How's Florida?
All right. Oh man, it got really bad in the weather over here, heat wise, for about a week.
We've
Just
had
started cooling down now.
we've had crazy rain for the past like 2-3 weeks. It's been
I
rain.
heard the weather was. I heard the power was going out big time in
Uh,
Texas
yes, a lot of section, like a lot of zip codes have had no power for like over 2 weeks. So yeah, yeah.
from just the rain, huh?
Yep. Actually, it hailed on, what was it, Tuesday. I took a video. It like big chunks of hail. Like part of the fence, the one that I share with a neighbor, like, it fell. So that's a project. It's got to be done at some point. Yeah. So, but yeah, it made a big damages for a lot of people. A lot of commercial companies for roofs and for trees and like they've been circling the neighborhood asking for, their services, because a lot of homeowners got affected. So yeah. You're
Tomorrow is
stuff.
June 1st is the start of hurricane season.
Luckily, I have a generator hiding in my garage. Brand new. I haven't yet used. I think I tested it when I first bought it, that it works, but it's been sitting there for like 4 or 5 years. Luckily, I have not had to use it, so I hope I don't ever have to use it, because it's you know I don't want to be in that situation when there's no power, or it's just not fun.
It's easier to just get a few batteries and a solar panel.
Yeah, but I bought it like 5-6 years ago before I even thought about the idea of a solar panel.
Right.
But, yeah.
It's less maintenance, in my opinion, to a solar panel and just a
Yeah, because
couple batteries.
gas station, wait in line if there's hurricane season. Could you imagine the line for gas? How long that would be?
Right.
Every minute. So yeah, and it's not safe to leave gasoline in your garage or house, because it could catch on fire. Anything could ignite it. Yeah,
Generators are cool if you want to run your whole house. They'll do that.
yeah. This one is really cool. It like has a plug. You just find any plug in the house and you plug that thing in, and it like lights up everything. Yeah. So how was your Memorial Day?
Well, yeah, fireworks,
Hmm.
fireworks going off over here for Memorial Day. I
I
learned a little bit about labor. This month is also the labor union. Did you know that the United States hung like 4 labor workers for protesting for the 8-hour workday?
How long ago was that?
It was in May. It was the Labor Day.
Not this. Not in 2024. What
Uh,
was
Back
that?
in the early 1900s. I don't know, a long time ago.
Okay.
I guess I don't know, I'm not sure the true history on it, but
They actually really like because I mean
the basically the 8-hour workday. 4 guys got hung so we can have that an 8-hour workday. What does that tell you?
I mean
Unbelievable.
people they be working them probably like 15, 16 hours, a day. That's what that meant.
It just sounds like extreme for a nation to hang 4 guys or anybody just for fighting for a longer workday. Just like, what the hell?
Yeah, because probably pushing for it to become a law, not just a protest, to boycott a company for, whatever, but this is going to become like
Right, but to think that the United States government executed these men for
just remember
fighting for a legal battle, you know?
they were building the railways and the railroads. The railroads needed workers, so I would understand. I mean, I don't condone, but the people in power back then were very greedy people, and they wanted to connect the nation from east coast to west coast. They needed to build these railroads, and at any cost, whether it's loss of human life or the loss of whatever. And so it wasn't like there was no protection for a human back then. I mean, we have by God we had like slavery, if you think about it. Only in the past, I'll say maybe in the 1960s and onwards, like humans or citizens started to have a say or rights in and of their life in this country. But before then, it was a country that is being built. It was being built to become one of the greatest nations on this earth. So yeah, I believe it that they killed 4 people that that they didn't want to give them their rights for to work 8 hours. No more than 8 hours.
Mm.
And
You
like
ever heard of,
all
you ever,
history, you read history, it's a dark grimoire. Any history you read for any time period, it always has a dark veil to it. you know because we're already evolved in our ideas now. When we read something, we're like, oh my god, really? Yeah, really, that was the norm for them. I mean, and that's part of evolution. And as time moves forward, we evolve from things that aren't good for humans, if you think about it. Yeah.
you ever heard of Dr. Shiva? He's the guy who invented email.
Who was his name?
Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, yes.
Interesting um, political view he has about the Zionists. And they're just like these group of people think they're better than everybody else, and they're all over the world, from all nations. And like he says, Erdogan is one of them. Like he's not acting on the crisis in Palestine because um, he doesn't protect his own people. He's
You know,
a Zionist.
I listen. I really don't like talking about politics because somebody's feelings always gets hurt. But if you really want my personal view, I think, we've heard too much and experienced too much of that part of the world and their fight for almost maybe a century now. It has eaten away from television time, from real things, from there's a point where I'm like, you know what? You've taken like a whole century, 100 over 100 years of humanity's time in a quarrel for of two countries that after 100 years they still can't solve. So I honestly don't feel any empathy for neither side.
You said two countries. Which ones are those?
You've got the Middle East issue. They've been fighting for 100 years. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
tired of listening to their quarrel. I'm
the
tired
whole
of,
world is.
for me, it's like, you know what? Why don't you build a wall around yourselves and keep on kicking each other's ass till you're content? But please stop splattering your
Yeah.
news and what's happening to the rest of the world, because all of the nations have tried to help you over over the past 100 of years, and you don't want to coexist. You guys enjoy this fight, so please leave the whole world out of it. Solve your own problems by yourselves, because nobody's interested anymore. You've already have eaten
Believe it
away.
or not, the Middle East issue is so vague to most Westerners. They don't know exactly the specifics of anything.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I would agree.
100 years that we've been
You know,
waiting.
it's always a new party or a new tribe. Now it's Hamas. Who was it before? Uh,
I'm telling you, I have zero sympathy when I see
it
any.
was Taliban. Then it was who was
Mahushadin and
yeah. It's always some other
yeah,
name. It's just
ISIS.
you
Yeah,
don't know
these
where
are
they're
all.
from or what their tribe is or none of that, and you're like
Yeah,
can't
it's
figure anything
just,
out.
you know what, they like to destabilize the area that they want to
Can't figure out
take
who's
all
on
the
whose
oil.
side over there.
Yeah, everybody's in it for themselves. That's what it seems like in my mind.
I think
You know.
you're right. Yeah, the oil,
Yeah.
I just think, they've been
a
given.
huge distraction to
Yeah,
cover up
Yeah.
the oil.
like they're
Yeah. And
bringing the world down backwards, where we're like it instead of us being evolved, it's
The
de-evolving.
Ayatollah, and then
well, it based around money and power, right? It's been like that since the dawn of time. It's
I,
money
I'm,
and
I,
power, right?
right
what?
before you was saying, Mike, that like they've been at this quarrel for the past 100 years. That's enough for anybody to care anymore about them, either side. Honestly, like, you can't solve your problems, and it's been 100 years in the modern day. It's like, why don't you just, like, nobody care. I honestly, I'm saddened when I hear any country helps any of of any of these sides. It's like they don't deserve it. It's not like they're not getting any better.
The easy way to not help any one party and to help everybody secure their own assets and their own livelihood and their own grounds is give them a friggin' gun. Okay, everybody, give them a gun, and
No,
now the
they
wars will be
need to learn how to
over.
coexist.
There are people
To learn
without
how to
guns, and those are the ones getting shot at.
Mike, they need to learn how to coexist. It's sickening. We're in 2024 and we still have an archaic battle, on this planet, that they cannot coexist. It's like
Yeah, but how many Palestinians have weapons?
coexist.
They're all poor, broke. They don't have ways to defend themselves. You know.
There should not be a reason for anybody to defend themselves, that they can learn to coexist. You know?
I'm just saying. Look what we're doing. We're giving the Ukrainians guns. Why aren't we giving both the Israelis and the Palestinians guns at
Because
the
they're
same time?
hopeless, because maybe the Ukrainian side, there might be a resolution, soon, but that story on that will never end. It's always like an oozing bucket of trash.
I'm
It's
just saying. America back in the day used to give both sides a gun. Okay, they didn't pick a side. They knew how to achieve peace. You give both sides the equal arms, the
Yeah.
equal ability to defend themselves against each
Yeah.
other, and that's it. Now they shut up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
You get
the
what
all
if
this.
there,
one side has a smaller rock, they get the bigger rock thrown at them. That's it.
Mike, the fear is then they might stop fighting amongst each other and then seek us out to fight. Do you understand?
No,
Yeah,
no,
It's their
not at
whole.
all. No, they're not going to seek out Americans because every American has a gun.
Okay, not Americans,
There you
Europeans,
have it.
Orientals. Like there's it's not just Americans. Like they might stop quarreling in their sect and decide, like, let's go explore somewhere else.
yeah,
I don't think they should. That country, those two countries should not have any weapons because, they have proven themselves
Oh.
to be uh, really like.
I have a totally different philosophy. I don't believe man is at war with itself anymore. I believe man is at war with the machine. Give everybody the gun, recognize what the machine is, and recognize your new enemy. And now you no longer have man as your enemy because the machine is your new enemy. It will be. And
yeah.
that's the truth.
I agree. I agree with
And we're
that.
already talking AI. The machine has been our enemy since before AI or even the
Well,
oldest war began. Was
you
the
look at the
machine?
look at the movie The Terminator. Okay, take away all the the
Look
shooting
at
and
the
all that stuff,
trebuchet.
but the way the Terminator story started, man's demise came about, resulting in AI and the machine. That
Right.
was
But
the end of humankind. So
you know
are
what
we
a
going to follow
trebuchet
the
is?
trebuchet? Trebuchet.
Trebuchet is that three-legged pieces of three tripods of wood that launched huge stones set on fire at your fortress back in the day. That
Oh,
was the
okay,
first
right.
machine,
Yeah,
one of the first machines to put a new
the
to put a
catapult.
new
Yeah,
to give the enemy a new face and not the other tribe. Instead, now it's a machine you're worried
yeah,
about,
yeah.
not the the
Even
tribe behind
even
the machine.
even the the crossbow and the bow and arrow, right? That's a machine. It's a
Exactly. It's
very
my point.
very yeah. So yeah,
We've been at
it's
war with the machine for a long time. And we
yeah.
keep ignoring the fact that that's our new enemy is technology.
But I think it all boils.
Either we embrace it and make it our ally, and we all get along, and then
Well, I
technology
think
will be
that's yeah, definitely. Humankind's got to stop the wars and start innovating stuff to make life better for each and every person that lives on the planet. Because the way we're going right now,
right.
We're gonna fall like the Romans,
We
or
do it for ourselves every day
you
when we get up in the
you know.
morning.
But you got these certain elite rich, and they want money and power and control of everything, and they make everybody else's experience in their lifetime on the planet not so good. And I think that's very selfish of them to do so. But their mentality, they're psychopaths. They are. They're
It's hard to
complete
understand
psychopaths.
why they need all that power and control. They already have it. They don't have to. Like, they already
They're
got all the
psychotic.
wealth.
There's no other word to describe them. They're all psychotic. You know, I would
What's the worst that
rather.
can happen if they lost all their wealth and they were left with a couple million to
Well,
die?
they can't have that. See those
They're
people,
old. They're
because
not
they're
good forever.
because that psychopathic lizard brain that dominates their minds is dominate, control, and have all the power and less for the rest of us. They
And
want to
have
keep it
their
that way.
children continue the cycle.
Think about it.
That's right.
Governments were created by these people to steal the efforts of others. Like you've got those inventors like Nicholas Tesla, all of, anybody that was shadow banned on an invention
Yeah, it's
that
like
could,
usury.
yeah, like
I
could
do
flip the
say Tesla was
table.
probably the first guy to get shadow banned in history.
Yeah, but you understand his technology was implemented, it would leave no more room for like the electrical company. Well, at the beginnings of the electrical company, that wasn't a private enterprise, that was a government
Well,
enterprise. That's
yeah.
the power structure. And so
Well,
if you
the
have something that, butting heads with the government and
see like see
structure.
at that you have to understand too at that time, um JP Morgan was heavily into the resources, minerals. At that time he was mining copper and rubber, and they found the oil in the Middle East and all this stuff. So that's his business interest, so he's going to endorse anything that will enhance and create a market for those resources. So Tesla wanted to go wireless. He didn't. He wanted to stay with wires because now he can sell copper, and he owned most of the copper mines in the United States at that time. So it's where his special interests were, um, is why he supported only certain things. He supported the oil companies. He supported the electrical companies to transmit power using 60 hertz at 120 volts, and he makes money off the meter. So, and even himself said to Tesla, he goes, "Why would I want to use it? I can't put a meter on it, right?" So it's all about the money, and that's basically when Tesla realized he's dealing with a guy that all he cares about is the money in the end. He doesn't care about the technology or advancing technology to a higher level. He just wants to know if he can monetize it,
As
right?
any person that has, power, anybody that has money wants to
Right.
continue having that, power in their hands, and anything that, is a threat to them, they're ruthless. They have
Yeah,
no,
they'll take you out. They'll
yeah,
take you
they have
out.
no ethics in anything. So yeah, I mean,
See, it just goes back to the old thing. Too much power, you'll get to abuse the power. And these guys have basically shown us time and time again, when you have too much power, you're going to abuse the power. And that's what
Seems
they've
to
done.
corrupt about anybody, huh?
Anybody. That's the problem. That's part. I don't know if it's part of our human DNA. I think most people are fun-loving, good citizens that want, just to live an honest, decent, prosperous life. And I think most people in the world want that. But there is that 1% that want everything for them and nothing for us. And that's why it's been.
I like that
So,
decoded crop circle message that they decoded. You hear about that one?
no, I haven't.
no, tell us about it.
Basically, it's basic, very easy to remember too. It basically means it says we oppose deception, um, advancement of the humankind, something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, we oppose deception.
Yeah.
That's their main message. That
and
the
that's and
crop
that's
circle.
all that and that's all that those people do is deception to
Hmm.
keep the upper hand
No,
on
but here,
the
check this out, though. Check this out. One of the aliens left a crop circle with a message that says they oppose deception. What does that
yeah,
tell you? That
yeah,
tells you
they,
if there's other aliens other than the ones that left that message, those are
mhm,
guys are deceiving.
true, true,
Not that
Starts
the
with
human
deception.
race is also deceiving too, but
It starts with deception,
it's
and then
possible that it
all
also
of the
means that the
evil comes as
other
a
aliens are
byproduct.
deceiving as well. And
yeah.
just like
It's like having compartmentalizing
I don't know, because
projects
crop
where
circles are
where
being
it's like even with the elites that run the planet, there is everything is compartmentalized. You have a specific job, and you don't know what the left hand is doing over the right hand. They never, tell their secrets or whatever what their agendas are between two different sectors. They don't do it. That's how the secret is kept, right? Same thing with all the black
plausible
projects,
deniability. That's how they keep
right?
plausible
Yeah,
deniability.
that's
Okay.
right.
I don't know. Nobody
Exactly.
told me. That's what that is.
I,
Mm,
I, I truly think they do have the technology that would take us to a civilization type one right now, honestly. But for them, they don't want to do that, because if they implement that stage of evolution, it would, we have too many people not doing anything anymore. Think of it like that. Like, if we apply
mm,
all that technology, then it would leave not there's no more room anymore for, let's say, teachers, police officers, army people, drivers, construction workers. That type of evolution in technology would eliminate, like, I would say, about 70% of jobs that currently people have. So there's no yet structure that they have created on what would these people do if they don't if machines and technology takes over. What are they going to do? They're going to sit home all day and do what? How would what is the scale of distributed earnings would look like. How would you live? What would be the equivalence of, you going to a grocery store and buying?
If the machine was to run everything, it'd come down to two choices between the controlling humanoids of the civilization today and the machine would be, do those humanoids control those machines, or do those machines run on their own? That'd be the two decisions that need to be made
The only job
before.
would be like service people to service these machines. If one breaks, to fix it. But any other real job, the machines could take over. And then what would happen to us as humans?
Yeah, but we would
What
have to
work?
decide whether or not to let the machine take over on its own, or to have to answer to us to do what
Can
we say.
take over, but when we have achieved space
With
travel,
AI, that's not going to happen.
then it makes sense, for machines to take over mundane jobs. But till then, if we haven't achieved space travel, then what's the point of having machines to run? Then we will end up with is being obese and
You're
lazy.
right. That is an interesting thing. We're advancing so far with AI and robotics, but yet we're not even at the moon yet. I mean,
Yeah,
what's going on here?
exactly. Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to keep us here on the Earth and not leaving.
Yeah, the breakaway
robots to keep us here.
civilization. Yeah, it's the breakaway civilization kind of thing. Keep us on the planet, and all the elites
They're
get to
creating
leave
the robots
planet.
first before they create the spaceships, because that way the
Mhm.
robots can keep us on the ground and out of the spaceships.
Yeah,
You get it?
yeah, breakaway civilization. Yeah,
No, what I'm saying
sure.
is, why the advancements of AI and robots are so way ahead of the space travel, like Noel was saying. She was getting at that.
Well, I think there's not enough. It's a lot of it's political. I think a lot of it has to do with money,
Or
funneling
just
into.
secrecy and more control.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of secrecy. Even during the years of the space shuttle, over 25 missions were all deemed military. So that's going to tell you something right there, right?
I mean, you can tell already I'm not in favor of having robots walking on the sidewalk.
I agree.
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I don't care if
either.
they're nice or whatever. I don't care. It's not happening.
Not for like having robots on everything, more than like a robot vacuum. Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, servants.
I mean, would you let a human remote control a robot around your neighborhood? No, of course you wouldn't. That's highly dangerous, isn't it?
It's still
so would you let a robot, go on its own artificial intelligence? No, you wouldn't.
The future wars won't even have humans. It'll all be done by machines, right? This goes back to the Terminator movie. A lot of these movies that they produced in the day, like Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey, he was a visionary on what was going to happen down the road, right? How an AI can go rogue, and yeah, so
how,
yeah. So
I truly believe there is an AI that's already being in use, but is not declared. And the integration of the technologies, for example, you've got your traffic cameras. I think it's integrated by an AI and can scan your car and can know,
yep.
And it will make you stop at that light for 3-4 minutes, for whatever reason, it's being programmed to do so. But I truly believe, like, in that particular sect of like the traffic cams or the lights, I think that's an AI that does that.
It could very well be, or part of it
they
is.
turn those things off. They don't actually use them anymore because they're not constitutional.
No, I'm not talking about. Are you talking about? I'm talking about like the cameras with integration to whether it
Any kind of automated. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Any kind of automation is going to go AI. Even my industry, working as a machinist, I'm starting to see early signs of this happening. Where AI is going to actually start making the programs to run the CNC machines and all that kind of stuff. But there will always there will always be a human factor involved. Because
That's my
even
question. That's what I want to ask you guys. What's your opinion? Would you rather have humans controlling the robots, or would you rather have the robots controlling themselves?
no, I think there should
I
always
say
be a human.
say neither. I say neither.
I think there
I
should
wouldn't want
always
either
be.
happening.
You know what? Yeah, but that's not going to happen. I think there should always be a human oversight all the time.
Yes.
I don't think even a human should be controlling a robot.
Machines are programmed through mathematics. Okay, their programming is mathematical based, not emotional based. Humans, on the other hand, sometimes
Only in scientific application for like
yeah, but sometimes
research. Yeah,
you
that's
have
okay,
to
but not
have.
for like anything else.
Okay, let me put it in another way. If a machine or a robot was performing a task, and let's say a child crossed in front of this machine that the AI was controlling, it might not have the empathy to stop and save that child because it's a machine and it's programmed on a mathematical scale, not an emotional scale. But if a human being had the control, would stop. So do you understand? You
Yeah,
do need the
Right.
human element
yeah,
and
yeah.
not just the machine, because machines will, for them it's a numeric equation. If their end result needs to be like,
Well,
let's
I
say,
mean, if we could screen cops and not efficiently, then I'd say yeah, screen robots or people
You
to
know
run the
what?
robots.
Yeah,
But that's
I
not working out with the cops. I mean,
you know what? I would be more comfortable having a human with the kill switch than another machine.
yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yes.
you got dirty cops. Who do you think is going to be running these robots? The
But
cops.
okay, but a dirty cop could be prosecuted and he could be exposed. But a machine, what are you going to do to the machine?
Yeah,
Bring
you
it
can't throw it in jail. All you
Oh,
do
like
that's
is,
a good point. That is a
right,
good point.
like
right.
what are you going to do to it?
There's no accountability with a machine, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, like, what are you gonna like threaten the machine? Oh, I'm gonna like throw you in the garbage can. Like you gonna
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or
like
how about we ban the use of machines for anything other than medical and research and certain things.
The problem is, Mike, it's not going to go in that direction. And I know it's not going to go in that direction. The technology in 50 years from now,
You
we
can't have
won't
AI
even,
running the
you
running
know,
the legal system and things like that. That's ridiculous.
I think it's going to go that way. I really do. I think they're really going to go with this far. And I
And I
think
think
down
you're
the
right
road,
because the government's too cheap to do it themselves correctly.
yeah,
You know,
you know what? I honestly see it happening, maybe not now, maybe in 25, 30 years from now, that could be
they're
a
no, they're
reality.
they're already doing it. The government's already using AI to
And it's only going to get worse, from,
to make their job easier,
you know
basically.
what, there's going to be huge advancements, not just in 1 year, within the next few years, that's going to blow our minds, right? So, it goes back to the Terminator again. I'm telling you, we're playing with fire. If you put in machines in total control, the
we're
machine,
playing
decides to say, you know
with
what, humans do not belong in this equation anymore. Let's nuke them, right?
yeah,
And we
it could become a sentient
Yeah, self-aware.
and
As soon as the
decide that
machine,
we are a bunch of unethical liars.
that would be the
Or
best thing
what
that
did
could
you say
ever
about
happen,
the
if you ask me. If it became
hold on, Mike?
self-aware,
What
that'd
crop
be okay.
circle?
I'll let it do its thing. But until then, it's scary.
yeah.
What if those machines decide that the human race is a deceptive race, like how they crack the code on that crop
In
circle?
between AI as it is now and its self-awareness is a huge gap of scariness, of all kinds of
Oh yeah,
possibilities.
exactly. And I think the worst case scenario, Terminator. Human
They're
equals,
all they're all they're all the
yeah,
worst case scenario.
yeah.
Until you get self-awareness, then you have a chance of cooperation with the machine.
Okay, any artificial intelligence system like a robotic system cannot be integrated to the World Wide Web. The second it's gonna hit the open source World Wide Web, it will know how to design a money tree for first of all. meaning
Yep.
it could create its own structure to finance its endeavors, meaning it could analyze, you know how many billions of computations it could do per second. It could figure out the algorithm of the stock market, and it could invest in a digital
That's
penny,
true.
one digital penny, and quadruple, or I don't know, like infinite, and it
The
could
AI
become
can manipulate the market if it isn't
You,
exactly,
already.
it
you
could
you
become
never
the rich.
know. You know what? The way we're going right now, maybe 50 or 100 years from now, they might even eliminate the whole currency system altogether. Machines will be doing all the major labor, all the major manufacturing. You're just, having humans doing the oversight of the operations. And, you can walk into your superstar or a superstore and, a grocery store or whatever, and, grab a bag of milk, and it just, you just have to walk out the door because they already know you've taken it because the technology is there to know what you've purchased.
Yeah, microchip
So,
everybody. Microchip everybody, and then everybody like already has
no,
a
I think
scan.
it's just going to be facial recognition. You know, walk in, walk
I
out.
don't think you're going to have to
You'll know
have
your
money. I don't
face.
think money's going to have a. I don't think money's. I think money's going to be obsolete once
That's
AI
Or
right.
gets
re-
It
better.
or
will.
like
Yeah, it'll be
biometric,
just a
like the
credit
retina
system.
reading, the retina
No, I
reading.
mean credit as well. There won't be credit either. It'll be a
That
utopian.
always. Yeah,
There'll be
if it goes.
robots will be farming everything. It'll be such an efficient water system and air
All right,
Yeah,
system. You know,
let's say
but
all
you
that is in
know,
place. Let's say all that's in place. But what would be the human mission then?
if the robots can
well,
build themselves, you don't have. You know, then it's like
Then what
think about
are
it.
we there
what
for?
is our? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What are
that's
we going to
exactly
be
what I
there?
was thinking.
What, just for what? Procreation?
We
Okay,
we
well
lose we
then we might
lose our position when
overpopulate.
we
You know,
give
we
our
Well,
might
we
job
over.
away like that.
well
We give
we've
our jobs and
lost.
our responsibilities
Well,
away.
we've given our existence away because something else has replaced us,
Yeah,
right?
it's so
Right.
So
then
what it becomes the
Hey,
American dream, right?
you
What
look at
becomes
the statistics. Marriages went down the day the washing machine was invented. You know,
the yeah, yeah.
I mean, just I don't have to look at the statistics. I know I'm right. You know, yeah.
very
and
good.
But
and you know, and husbands became less in demand once women could buy a gun. You know, another example.
but you know what?
You know,
It all boils down to we have to recognize what human nature is. We come into the world, we go to school, we get a job, we start a family, we have some kids, we buy a couple of nice cars, maybe in a couple of nice houses along the way, and we let our teach our offspring to do the best they can and prosper and carry on. And that is the human nature of what we've been doing thus far. But as soon as you replace that with a machine that will do everything that the human nature was doing, now you've taken that away from us. What are we going to do? Just sit in the chair and fester all day about
But this,
memories?
like, I'm telling you,
Like,
we
That's
would
exactly what
lose.
happened.
but that's not the
You
human
know,
nature. I
we
don't
don't
think
wash
we,
our own clothes. We watch movies while our clothes are being washed. You know,
right,
the machine does it.
exactly. So, like the convenience,
We're getting to the point
uh,
where we don't have to cook either.
yeah, like convenience is basically going to make us super lazy. And then,
And that's why we
it,
work on the machine so hard to create convenience. People buy convenience. They don't buy anything else.
but
Well,
you know
yeah,
what?
I understand buying convenience, but at the
You
end,
buy a
like,
car because
we
it's
would
convenient.
lead ourselves to the grave just by not moving enough, not thinking enough,
That's
not
right.
we become like, the muscle that you don't use, you lose. It's like
Yep.
that, we
Yeah,
whatever.
everybody's not using their bodies anymore, and now they're going to do the same thing with our minds.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah, like if you don't think, you don't, man. Like people become
we're going to
like,
devolve.
yeah,
We're
What if,
dormant.
what if the
Like,
first sentient, what if the first self-aware robot, like Bicentennial Man, whatever, what if it is Bicentennial Man, like an inventor robot, and he starts inventing new AI robots and different ones each time? What if it's that?
Well, you know what it is you've created a new species, an artificial species, right?
Like human beings are inventors, and they invent all kinds of
Right.
things. What if a robot could do that? You know, and start
Well,
to see what
I'm very sure they will. See, so
crazy.
therefore, they could almost look at us as gods because we are there. Ultimately, we created
We
them.
invented them.
We invented
Well,
them. Like
we think
whoever
we did.
created us, now we are creating another life form or artificial life form that can do everything that we can do, build things, make things, destroy things, everything that we can do. Now a machine is going to do it. So we've, in essence, kind of created a new life form. And yeah, it's weird. It gets into a
What do you think a
real,
robot would invent? What do you think a robot would try to invent?
well, at that point, AI is going to be able to outthink a human like 500,000 times faster.
Do you think it would
It
try to
will
invent
try to
a
be
more
a baby
advanced neural
robot. It
network?
will try to
I,
procreate. It will that because we created it. It wants to mimic its God. Remember that. Like even
right,
our biblical
It'll
story.
invent a
right,
human.
right.
Yeah, it would want to
Or
invent.
no,
Yeah.
I think
I
what
was
it's going to,
close, right? I was close. I said neural network. That's kind of like inventing a
what I
human.
think, what I think that the robot is going to try to invent, if it were to get to that level, is create a soul because they don't have one. That's one thing that
Well,
separates
it
us.
would have to be aware of the existence of a soul first.
Well, self-aware, but it doesn't mean it's got a soul. Where that is kind of the separation between a human and a machine. A human has a soul, a robot doesn't.
But a
Or
robot that can invent,
or
you would kind of think it has a soul,
well, that's where your interpretation of what is a soul, right?
Mm.
So
Well,
yeah, this guy,
AI can deduce, so it can invent, technically speaking.
it can invent, it can mimic a human in every way, shape, and form. It can be
It could
outperform the
deduce.
human mind, but I don't think a machine could ever really get a soul. I think that is something that's generically can only happen in a biological machine like ourselves. We
Mm.
are a machine, but we're biological, right? Where a
Yeah, like
robot is,
whatever we're made out of decays and goes back into the earth, but a robot or a machine won't like its decay process is so much slower, and then it's a recyclable material, and
A
like
robot won't
you know
recognize death, so
yeah. So
it
yep,
won't be able to understand death if it doesn't die or it doesn't know. If its battery never runs out, I mean, it won't identify with death at all.
I
yeah,
think
it's like
if there was
like a
sentient
machine.
robots, at the end of the day they're
When
gonna
its
take care.
master dies, it will just think, "Oh, my master went to sleep. When are you going to wake up?" You know.
Okay,
Hmm.
I think machines would be a good use for, again, things that are outside of our planet, like space travel. Like we are sending an ambassador on behalf of the human race in
Yeah,
a because they don't need oxygen. So that would make it much easier for like construction of a spacecraft, because
yeah,
it doesn't have to be, you know, there's no like generation of oxygen needed to be,
Hmm.
cycled. They don't need water, so
yeah.
those
They don't
kind of.
need the resources. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, like those machines would be good for that kind of exploration, like for that kind of use
sure.
for that.
Deep space stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because they,
they can last through time. They're almost in a way kind of almost immortal, right?
yeah, and
They're
Where
then
primarily
they,
exploring for
ever
more minerals to make more machines like gold
no,
and
but if they
silver.
ever reach a different a civilization, like an intelligent civilization, they could always represent themselves as we look in the form of our species, but we're not. We're just a construction, we're a machine that is in the shape and form of how our species looks like. So would still give the human representation for other intelligent life, but it would still preserve our image,
mm,
and we would be able to achieve way vast, exploration and distance, and the stressors, even the stressors that we worry about our biological structure, can it endure or not endure. Well, if you put a machine, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because there's the pressure, it could hold a large amount of pressure versus our bodies cannot, or all like, what I'm talking about. I think it would be a their use would be very good in that domain.
Mhm.
I think if we send robots to fly our ships out there, the first thing that would happen is the ETs would take over the robots with remote control.
Oh,
It's our robot
yeah,
now.
our robot just got hacked.
Exactly. And they're already
What
doing
what
that.
But
about what about if we link it with a human existence, like the person is actually the robot out there, so it can't be
yeah,
hacked.
but we're already doing it with a robotic spacecraft to Mars, and we got the Voyagers. Those things have been running for 40
The
plus
comms
years.
on those have delays that are,
So
You know,
so
huh.
like the Voyager is pretty interesting because of the fact that they've been in operation for 40 years. They're
1977.
Yeah, 1977. Yeah, they've been
but
out
the
there for a
Voyager
long
was,
time.
they think the Voyager was tampered with.
No,
Well,
it exhibits the
It
heliosphere thing.
lost its power cell on one side and this and that and the other. It's like they're like struggling to get a message through it.
Okay, so
Now
this is
it's
what do you know Jeremy Pope
it's 40
Pope
years, but the things that
Jeremiah
happen
Pope?
to that thing in 40 years are not typical from, they're like strange, like
you know what?
strange
I think
What
failures.
happened to me. He told
I
me, like, scientifically what happened. The Voyager existed after it left that bubble. What he told me. You know who Jeremiah Pop, Exotic Propulsion.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so I talked to him, like, after one of the not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I asked him about this. I'm like, how did they gain communication? Because he's really deep into the physics. So this is
yeah.
what he said, that it existed in a field that our machines does not recognize. So it was sending data, but they couldn't
Oh,
see
that's
it.
right.
Like the
I
field
remember
that
this. Right. Yeah.
the field that it was in, our machines cannot detect that field. We don't know what that field is. Interesting, right?
So the Voyager, it flew into a
A
radio
void.
field, or
It flew into a void.
some kind of radio signal field. Right. Yeah. It's inside that signal,
Mommy.
single area of high strength or some kind of
Yeah,
signal.
but
You're
you
saying.
know what? The thing is, we've never been out that far physically, so we don't know what it actually encountered. Like, space varies. There's energies and there's the different elements going through
So what?
space, and you know, you
There's
don't know.
gravitational wells.
There's gravitational wells. There's energy wells. If you believe in the electric universe theory, you know, that's possible. It could have went through a huge amount of electromagnetic radiation from some source that we have no idea from. It could be so many things, but we would never know because we've never physically have gone that far other than a machine. So
I mean, I don't follow the news, but what is the news on Voyager? Is it still up and running, or is it
yeah,
running
Yeah,
dully?
they're
yeah,
still communicating.
yes,
It's mind blowing.
it's yes.
Huh.
Now if they were using a
40
Tesla
years.
transmit, yeah, 40 years. It's over
So
a
the solar
billion
panels are still
kilometers.
working.
No more than
They're
40 years. 1977 to
Yeah,
now is, yeah,
So
1977.
that those solar panels are still working.
it's still got power. It's getting energy from something. Now the question is
I don't know, man.
It
I'm
has
an
a
installer. I don't think you can install anything to last 40 years,
I think it has
especially
yeah,
in
nuclear
space. I'm thinking those aliens out there are keeping that thing running. I don't know, man. If that thing's still running after 40 years off of solar panels and capacitor banks,
mm,
that wiring must be real good because
well, not only that, there has to be something that it's exposed to another star,
I mean by now the
or
solar cells would
you
have
know
been eaten away by sun rays.
unless there are radioactive elements in space that it could extract, harness through like
Yeah.
With the solar
some
panel?
kind of a
Yeah.
event,
Yeah.
or
Maybe. Yeah. There could be
and then
energies out there.
recycle
Yeah.
it into nuclear energy
You mean
that
you're saying the
run.
capacitor banks that they're probably using capacitor banks, right? Or
Yeah. Like if
they,
there is a huge amount of
you
dielectricity
wouldn't
in
put a
that.
battery on anything
No.
for
What
Well.
if it harnesses
Yeah.
rays like gamma rays and and converts them into thrust energy?
If it is running, and NASA's not lying to us that it really is truly still working, it has to be getting some kind of light source from somewhere to keep those batteries in operation. Now, if it's not solar radiation that's keeping it going, the $6 million
Well, it definitely
question
is
is,
solar, but I just don't think the
well,
panels are
no,
so good.
but no, but what I'm saying is in deep space, there might not be any visible light whatsoever hitting those panels. So if it's staying charged and it's running,
Well,
what's
that's what I'm telling
charging it?
you.
What
Rays, gamma rays,
Well, you
like
don't
those.
need light. It is a solar panel, it's photovoltaic, but technically
it
speaking, solar panels don't really need light. They can get, if you have them connected to capacitor banks, they will receive a small amount of charge from radio signals because those panels are laden with the silver circuitry,
So
and
any
those
signal
those
would
sine
be
waves
converted.
will be rectified through the circuitry of the panel into the capacitors, and yeah, you could still charge up slowly
But you
like
know
that.
what? Solar panels can only pick up a certain spectrum. Like
Yeah,
gamma and all that stuff. Those solar
doesn't have
panels
to
are
be light
designed.
though. I don't believe that they need to. They can still receive minute charge from radio signals. Solar panels, yes. The
Well, it
Bedini,
must. Well, yeah,
he
it
should
has
give
to
that
be some
example.
kind of. I don't know, because you're going back 40-year technology of solar panels. How good was their solar panel technology in
They were
1977?
polycrystalline for sure back then. They weren't
Question: what if
monocrystalline.
a supernova explodes? That amount of energy that it spews out in the galaxy, that energy could be harnessed by those probes. Remember that,
But
and this is
yeah, but you
happened.
know what? Those polycrystalline solar panels can't pick up that spectrum. So there's got to be
Mm,
something else to it. That's why
Right,
I'm
but if the
saying it's a,
panel
it's
if
a
the panel
mystery.
is if the panel is parallel to a capacitor of any kind, the capacitor will pick up radio signals off that panel. Not light signals, radio signals
Mm.
from
Yeah, but
stars or whatever.
well, and the other thing is too, in deep space, how much exposure is actually going on there?
It's all just analog being rectified to DC, an
Mm.
analog, any kind of
Now the
signal.
question is, out in deep space like that, is the radiation levels a lot higher?
Most likely.
could
You
they
think so?
extract radiation and
Yeah,
convert
and there's
it
probably
into
more heat hitting the panel too. Just heat alone will get rectified, like
Mm.
a Peltier.
isn't radiation
The panel will
a
do
form
that.
of energy?
But you're
Is
going to need the
radiation a form
capacitor.
of energy?
I don't
Sorry
think
to
they built
interrupt.
it like that though. If you have a capacitor connected to a panel, a degraded panel, and it's still getting reception from radio signal, and you have an oscillator to create a spike on it, and that capacitor will reach a higher voltage, and then you can shove it into a nickel cadmium battery for dense storage. But I don't think they did that on the Voyager back then,
I
40
think they
years
put
ago.
nuclear batteries on board. I really think they did. I think they didn't fire up the nuclear
40 years
batteries,
ago,
and
nuclear batteries.
yeah, all you need is
Then they must
tritium,
have had that
right?
technology, and it was top secret back then, because
Of course, it was
Ca-
top secret.
Can they harness radiation?
they
Can
I
wouldn't have to if
radiation?
they
imagine
put a
I
nuclear
imagine,
battery on there. They
yeah, nuclear batteries can last quite a while, right? The
No,
nuclear batteries that
not
I
the
heard of only have
the.
a half life of 14 years, but I'm sure they would have some pretty exotic stuff on there that could last 50 years, 100 years,
Look, I'm
right?
asking about the radiation that's in the space. Can they harness that radiation?
Yeah, with
If
just a
there's
piece
high,
of metal and a capacitor and
Okay,
a
there you
diode.
go. That means they're just extracting the radiation, converting it into usable energy for the probe.
Yeah, well, that means that
You can,
the radiation levels have to be quite high to do that.
like with a
Uh,
joule thief circuit could do it. It's
Yeah,
picking up radio signals. I
sure.
just don't think they built that kind of stuff for
oh
that
come on,
It
they
could,
must
you
have.
Voyager.
know,
They had the
even
telegraph and the.
well, I would imagine even too, even the antennas themselves, if they're special dipole antennas, if it's built correctly, they probably could pick up some radiation that's in the vicinity of the
Right.
craft, right?
And over a few weeks' time of that constant radio signal, they could slowly build a charge where they spike by creating an oscillating spike to build
Right.
up their voltage slowly. At any minute level, they could still reach a high voltage by using the basic pulse system.
and
Yeah,
and
You
but
know,
and
I
let's
you know
and
what?
let's
I
speculate they did. That's not the way that they're doing it. Why don't we create this way?
they
What we're
might be.
talking about.
It's
Instead of
highly
like
unlikely, but
speculating their technology, let's create one of our own that we can present for a future,
it's
spacecraft.
too bad they don't publish everything about their devices. You know,
you know what? In my personal opinion, I think they have some form of nuclear battery on board, and that's what's keeping it going. Because those batteries, the military grade nuclear batteries, they can last 100 years. So,
hmm
and the ones that are in regular circulation, usually they only have a half life of 12 to 14 years, right? So it depends
doesn't
on the,
thorium
yeah, thorium, and then you have tritium. Yeah, it all depends on the isotope that's being used. If you got uranium, yeah, it could last a couple 100 years or 100 years for sure.
Why
They
A
why
definitely
lot.
didn't they
had uranium.
why didn't they use uranium on the
They
like
probably did. I
They
wouldn't
probably
doubt
did
it
because
for
you
a
know back
second.
then they had uranium. They were
Yeah,
making so that was the time when the Cold War, 40 years
yeah.
ago.
Oh, yeah. Yes, nuclear batteries is nothing new. It's been around for a long, long time.
It's just you put you got to build a diode that won't corrode from the radiation of the that you're using.
Well, I guess it
Right.
is a testament to the technology at that time. It's lasted.
they
Like
they,
even
they said they had seven instruments, seven detectors. They had to shut down, I think, four or five, and leave only a few for the like communication to Earth through the deep network space antennas, or the ones that receive the transmissions from. It takes like 22 hours for each message between Voyager 2 and Earth. 22
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
To get how many seconds of of image?
Probably a certain like a packet, like an FTP type protocol type thing. You'll send a packet of information, and it takes 22 hours for that signal to go from Voyager back to Earth. I
I think
know,
like
I know
16.
from Mars. I know from Mars, they're basically using the same kind of transmitter that you would find in your regular cell phone, and it takes 20 minutes from a signal from Mars to hit Earth. It's 20 minutes.
I think
So,
I heard once with the Voyager it's like 16 bits of information.
which is
Every,
nothing. Yeah,
yeah,
that's all they had back then.
yeah.
With the rovers that they have on Mars, you're talking light years ahead in technology, and the rovers are lasting. Unless it was a mechanical issue, like the rover that they had was flying around. It had a mechanical issue.
Ingenuity.
So yeah,
Ingenuity.
ingenuity.
Yes.
And yeah, those rovers are lasting. They only expected those rovers to last 4 months, and they've been in operation like 12 years, right?
It's funny when
So
machine outlasts it's like it's like is there another kind of force that is keeping it alive you know
no, I think we just kind of underestimate our technology. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
it just shows how well the stuff was engineered, and it was able to, you know, work properly in extreme conditions. So, obviously, that research has paid off, and you can make reliable machinery that can, go so far and
Yeah.
operate and do its thing, right? So it can only get better from here, right? Like I said, in the last 40 years, they've made leaps and bounds in computers, aeronautics, navigational system, communication systems, a lot of innovation. You know,
Laser optic.
computers, laser optics. You know, GPS, all that kind of stuff. We made huge leaps and bounds since 1977. So there's no reason why, you know, the stuff wouldn't be working, right? Or last, you know, a great amount of time. So it's just a matter of time before we make it to Mars and put our footprint on there and corrupt that planet too. You know, right. Anyways, we're coming to the top of the hour. I'm going to call it quits today. I'm pretty bushed. Yeah, it's been a good show. We're going to go live again next Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. For all the updates, join me at Faraday Research. And thanks, Lulu, for joining us, and Mike. And hopefully we'll have Philip back next week, and hopefully we'll have Gerald on next week. And yeah, so have a great week, and we'll see everybody soon.
Have a great
Good night.
Take care. Good night.